Hello everybody, Jade Hamilton here again. I apologise for not coming on in the last few days. I meant to film yesterday, but my stomach decided to misbehave. So I was firefighting that a little bit. But I've brought two little cubs on with me today to do various tags. The first tag is Fresh Face Friday, which is with this little guy. Now, this is Finlay. I call him Finn for short, but he's Finlay. Finlay Joseph. He is a friend's bear that I found on Vinted. The lady selling him didn't want him anymore. So I felt so bad for him. I thought, let me take him. He's I think he's about 40 centimetres, 16 inches, which makes him roughly a newborn size. He's got an up to 1 month outfit on today. Sorry, before I ramble on. Fresh Face Friday is run by the lovely Lynn at My Bella Blessing. So if you haven't checked her out, do. She's full of laughter and full of love for all her babies. She's a really lovely lady, Lynn, so do give her some love. But yeah, Finlay, he's got this up to 1 month next top and trousers outfit on. It's like a light sweatshirty top. It's beautiful royal blue, a cross between a teal and a royal blue, and it's got red stripes across the top, and it's got an elephant. Hang on, let me lift this bib up so I can show you. You've got elephants. You've got an elephant on your top, haven't you, Finn? Yeah. It's appliqued on this elephant, and it's got a wonderful texture to it. And underneath, he's just got some plain, sort of tracky bottom style grey-blue pants. As I say, this is up to 1 month size, this set. It's originally from Next. He's also got a mustard yellow bandana bib on. Now this bib I got as part of a Heidi Boo box that I bought a little while ago. A lot of you guys who particularly if you follow Mel at Melamora Nursery, she is a big fan and supporter of Heidi Boo for good reason. Heidi's great. And I bought my first ever box from her a while ago. And among its contents was this gorgeous little mustard yellow and white spotty bib. It's got a terry cloth backing, and I think it really suits him because he's got such lovely black fur. You can kind of get away with all sorts of colours with him. And I was looking at him last night, having a little bit of a cuddle, and I discovered he'd got bright blue eyes. Your mummy's blue-eyed boy, haven't you, Finn? I don't know what it is about me and bears with blue eyes. I have a real thing about bears with blue eyes. I've got lots of bears with blue eyes. But this little man surprised me because I thought his eyes were dark brown. I thought they were sort of hidden by his fur, so I thought they were dark brown. But no, they're this gorgeous sort of sky blue. I honestly, I couldn't be happier with him. So that's Finlay for our first tag. Now, for our second, I've got Miss Coco here. Now, Coco decided the other day she wanted to be cozy in her pajamas. So I put her in this gorgeous little sleep suit. It's from a brand called Zip Zap, I believe the name is. It's 0 to 3 month sizing. It's quite loose on her, but I think she finds that more comfortable, don't you? Yeah, find that a bit nicer, don't you? And it's a beautiful sort of creamy ivory colour, and it's got, as you sorry, I'm babbling again. The theme for Casual Fun Friday this month is anything food related. You put your dolls or bears, in my case, in something related to food. And this gorgeous sleep suit, as you can see, has got bright yellow lemons all over it. And they've got little smiley faces and little rosy cheeks, which I think is hilarious. And they've also got little green leaves and stems coming out. I absolutely love this. I found this sleep suits, bought it in a bundle from a shop called Outgrown It on eBay. It's Outgrown It, I would think, is very, very useful for you guys that have got bigger babies, sort of 3 months plus, because they've got some really beautiful stuff on there, all different brands. Some of it quite bougie. But yeah, this was one of the items I got in a recent bundle. And because Coco's got her gym jams on, we're also joining in pjsaturday, which is our lovely a tag that's been taken on by our lovely friend Lisa at Lisa's Littles. So if you haven't dropped in on Kitty and Totty at Little Wattle Nursery, who do Casual Fun Friday or Lisa's Littles, please do give them some love. Please give them a sub, because they're really, really lovely people with lovely, lovely babies, and I think they deserve a bit of extra love and a bit of extra support. And now from there, we'll move on to the last part of our story, which is Love Aubrey by Suzanne Lafleur. As per all the videos where I read, all copyright goes to Suzanne Lafleur and her publisher, which is Puffin. I own absolutely nothing. Make yourself comfortable. Grab a hot or cold drink if you've got one. Grab yourself a blanket if you're chilly or a fan if you're hot. And I will see you very shortly. Okie dokie, folks. We're on chapter 18, so here we go. Just before I start, though, I want to give a quick content warning. Later on, there will be some references again to Aubrey's car accident. So if you get to that part and feel the need to skip ahead, please do. I wouldn't want to upset anybody. There's also going to be a sequence in a minute where Aubrey's mum turns up again. So if that's triggering for anybody, and you need to avoid that, then please do. Righty ho then. Here we go. Chapter 18. Frost laced the edges of my window. Even though I could feel the cold seeping in, I pressed my palm against the glass, watching a foggy outline of my hand appear. With my fingernails, I scratched A.L.P. Aubrey Lynn Priestley in the corner of the glass, letting the falling frost collect on the windowsill. Graham had pulled some extra blankets from the trunk in the attic, so I climbed back into bed under the colourful layers of afghans and quilts. I found my mittens on the nightstand and put them on, and tucked a fleece cap over my head. When Graham came in to announce that it was nearly noon and I should get up, she laughed. Then she sat on the bed and said, "Sometimes I forget my Aubrey is a southern belle." "What do you mean?" I asked grumpily, pulling off the mittens and hat. "This kind of winter is new for you," she said. "Did you know the heat's on full blast?" I shook my head and smoothed down my staticky hair. Graham traced her fingers along the stitching on the top quilt, letting quiet settle in the room. "Gran, did you make resolutions this year?" She continued tracing and seemed to think. Then she said, "No." I thought she must be lying because she waited too long to answer. If she really didn't have any, she would have said so right away. "Me neither," I said. I was lying too. Deciding not to think about Mum was easier than I thought. On Monday, I didn't think of her on the school bus while Bridget chattered away next to me. On Tuesday, I didn't think of her in language art when I took lots of notes with new, brightly coloured gel pens I got in my Christmas stocking. On Wednesday, I didn't think of her at lunch when Bridget kept track of every move of Christian Richards. But at night, when everything slowed down and the house was dark and the only sound were the radiator ticking and Martha padding from one empty bed to the next, a lump grew in my throat. My eyes swelled with water, even though they were shut. Bridget was having a sleepy day. That's what her mum called it anyway, to explain why Bridget didn't come to the door to let me in. "She's on the couch. If you don't see her, she's hiding under that old blanket. She's got movies on." I headed through the kitchen into the living room, where a cartoon movie was playing. I sat on top of the blanket mound. "What's up?" I asked. "Air," Bridget responded. She pulled the blanket off her face. "Hi, Aubrey." "Hi," I said. "Can I watch?" Bridget nodded and scooted over a little. "Are you sick?" I asked. "No," she said. I just feel like lying around." "Okay," I said. That made sense to me. So we lay around on the couch, and then we lay around on the floor and drew lazy pictures with crayons, and then we lay around on the couch again. Bridget's mum came in and was surprised that we were still lying there. "Sweetie, what's the matter today?" she asked Bridget. Said Bridget. "Nothing." "Mummy, come here," Mabel called from the kitchen. "In a minute," she yelled back. Bridget, let me see if you have a temperature. Bridget let her mother feel her face. I don't think you feel hot, she said. Mummy! Mabel called. Her mother said to Bridget, Do you have any sniffles? My stomach started to hurt. Maybe I was the one who didn't feel good. I stood up. Let's play a game or something, Bridget. Something really long and good. Bridget nodded and her mother left, calling to Mabel, Here I come! We got out Monopoly. We read the directions and counted all the pieces and got out a calculator for just in case. I decided to be the banker and Bridget would give out the property cards. We played and played and I thought of nothing but Monopoly, of the little doggy I was moving around the board and the hotels I built on the yellow properties. In the end, I won. I dreamed I could hear her. She was talking to me. No, about me. But who was she talking to? Dad? The clock on my nightstand said 10:15. The numbers seemed too clear for dreaming. 10:16, 10:17, and I could still hear her. I need to see her, she was saying. Me. She needed to see me. Someone else was talking, faintly but getting louder. No, not tonight. You're not waking her up. That was Gran, her voice angry. I could feel it filling the house and shaking me. It wasn't a dream at all. I threw off the covers and ran to the top of the stairs. I stood there, listening, my heart pounding. My mother was downstairs. Mama, I whispered, but my feet were glued to the old cracked floorboards of Gran's house. I'm her mother. I need to see her. She was pleading now. You can't just take off from your child and just pick right up. Aubrey has finally got some stability back in her life. You can wait until tomorrow to see her, and then she's going to school. Mum didn't say anything. Ram slammed something down. You left her, she yelled. I know. Mum's voice sounded as if she was choking. But I didn't know then. I didn't know. I wasn't thinking. I don't even remember it. My breath stopped. I had been forgotten. But she didn't leave me behind on purpose. She didn't know. I heard Gram starting to talk again, still angry, but I couldn't understand what she was saying, just the harsh tones. Gram, stop being mad at her. You don't understand. Mama? I gasped. She would never hear me. My voice was scrunched up so small. Let me see her! Mum was nearly screaming now. You can't keep her from me. But Gran was the one who took care of me. She was the one who remembered me, who found me, who every day made sure I was okay. Mum shouldn't yell at her either. But she was here now. She'd come back for me. That must mean something. My feet became unglued. I'm coming! I put in the strength to I'm coming! I put in the strength to shout, but the words floated away, teeny tiny, as I hurried down the stairs. I stood in the kitchen doorway, blinking in the light. Gran looked livid when she saw me. Her face was bright red and her eyes were glistening, and her mouth was clamped shut tight. But Mum crossed the room. She also had a red face and wet eyes. Her skin looked tired and stretched too tight, but it used to look creamy soft and gently smooth. And her dark hair, which had always been long and pretty before, was short and uneven. I didn't recognise her clothes or the dark winter jacket she was wearing over them. She stopped walking when she reached me. She smoothed back my hair. My scalp felt like it was waking from a long time sleeping as her fingers gently touched me. She was looking at my scar. One thing she could never forget, could never not see. "Mama," I said again. "Baby," she said, drawing me close. My face got lost in her jacket. It didn't smell like her, it smelled stale and smoky. "I'm so sorry, I'm sorry." I found the gap in the coat and pressed my nose into her sweater. I breathed in more deeply, and underneath she smelled like Mama, like the lavender soap she always kept in the bathroom. I started crying. She was here, real, finally. But under the relief there was something else, something dark and hard in the pit of my stomach, in the depth of my chest. My crying was not the crying you do when you know that everything's better now. It was the red hot bawling of things that still hurt so much you can't think. So I stopped thinking, and it poured out of me, wet and noisy. Gram prized me away from her. She spoke softly. "Come, Aubrey, come upstairs." She pulled me away from my mother, out of the kitchen. Mum sank into a kitchen chair as I left. Her face dropped into her hands in her lap. "Gram, Gram," I said. "Honey, I know." Her arms steered me up the stairs to my room and put me to bed. Gram knocked on my door in the morning. I was already awake, lying on my stomach, one ear pressed into the pillow and one ear up, listening to the quiet in the house. "Time to get up for school," Gram said. "But," I began. "She's sleeping," she broke in, "and you need to go to school." "But what if you'll be here when you get back?" she said. My silence said enough. "I promise," Gram said, putting her hand on my shoulder. "I won't let her go anywhere." "How do I know?" I asked. "Have I let you go?" I shook my head into the pillow. "That should be enough. Get ready now." Gram left me and I got dressed. 10 minutes later she came back to check on me and found me paused outside the closed door to the last extra bedroom at the end of the hallway. "Come on now," she said. Downstairs she watched me pull on my winter layers and handed me a hot, foil-wrapped, homemade breakfast sandwich. "Ooh, yummy." "Your lunch is in your backpack," she said. I stood numbly in the doorway. "We're going to talk today, she and I," Gram said. "When you get back, it won't be like last night." I shrugged. "Fine, I'll be at school then, if anything. It's going to be fine. I'll see you after school," Gram said, her eyes moving to the window. I looked too, and saw the bus pulling up. I walked slowly across the lawn. "Aubrey!" Bridget called. She hurried to catch up with me. I didn't turn or say hi. She stopped next to me. "What?" she asked. "My mum's here." After the world's longest day of school, the bus finally returned me to the grounds. The old car, the one that had been Dad's before, was in the driveway. Bye, Aubrey, Bridget said. She'd walk with me to the car. It was orange and small and beat up. I put my hand on the trunk. It was dirty and left a film on the fingers of my gloves. Does this mean, did she come to get you? I don't know, I said. I mean, we haven't even talked yet. I rubbed the fingers of my gloves on my jeans to try to clean them. I swallowed hard. Bridget walked over to her porch. I let myself in the house. It was very quiet. I went first to the kitchen. I put my bag down, took off my heavy coat and boots, and helped myself to a cracker with cheese from a plate that Gran had left on the table for me. After I finished chewing, which was hard because my mouth was so dry, I walked up the stairs and to the end of the hallway. Her door was open and Gran was sitting on the bed with her. They were holding hands, talking softly. I pushed the door the littlest bit. It let out a creak to announce I was there. They both turned. Gran patted Mum's hand and got up. She walked to the door and nodded at me. I'll call you down for dinner and to do your homework, she whispered. I nodded. I walked to the bed slowly. Mum was wearing a pair of Gran's pyjamas. They looked funny on her because she'd always slept in big t-shirts. I guess she hadn't packed for this trip. What were you and Gran talking about? I asked. Just things, baby, she said. Mum looked out the window. I sat down on the edge of the bed, facing the other way, the doorway. Mama? Yeah? How are you? She was quiet again for a long time. Sometimes I wonder if life is all about one moment. Everything before and everything after is about that one moment, and we're all stuck there. You know what I mean? I took a deep breath. Yes, I said. I am stuck, she said. I flattened my hand on the top quilt, pressing down the layers of covers. It seemed like my hand would be stuck forever. I'd been stuck too. I was stuck when I was back at our house by myself. I was stuck because I couldn't have back what was gone, and I couldn't go forward because I didn't want to start forgetting. But then I had a Gram who made me move forward even when I didn't want to, and I had Bridget and Marcus who made me want to move forward. My life might have been divided in two because of one moment, but I wasn't stuck anymore. You can get unstuck, Mum, I said. You can. I reached for her hand and held it the way Gran had. I pressed each one of her fingers one at a time, each one of my fingers one at a time, into her fingers, and waited for her to press back. But Mum's eyes were looking out of the window again. When I got unstuck, it was without Mum. Maybe her other side of being stuck would be without me too. When I looked down at my hand holding hers, I saw that the knuckles had turned white. Lissy, Graham said, I brought your dinner up for you. She set a tray on Mum's nightstand. Now, nightstands in the UK we call bedside tables, so Aubrey's Gran has made some dinner and she's put it on a tray on Aubrey's mum's bedside table. Come on down, Aubrey. I stretched. I'd been sleeping, lying next to Mum on top of the quilt, but I didn't remember falling asleep. Come on down, Aubrey. Come on down, Aubrey, Ram said. I went with her without saying anything. Mum waved to me as I left. When I got to the kitchen, I saw the table looking as it did every night, with our plates and pots and bowls of food. Tonight there was chicken and green beans and rice and cornbread, and it all smelled wonderful. "This looks good, Gran," I said as I sat down. Gran looked a bit surprised. I usually didn't tell her things like that. "Thanks, Aubrey," she said. "Thank you." She piled food onto my plate and passed it to me. I started eating, but I paused my fork in mid-air over the green beans. If Mum was back, did that mean this was over now? Would it be back to me taking care of her and myself? Would it mean a lonely, sad house and an empty fridge? What if she took me with her, but she really was stuck forever? I looked up to see Graham staring at me, so I speared a green bean and started to chew it slowly. I made it through 3 periods of the school day before I headed to the little office round the corner from the main office. "Hi, Aubrey. Everything okay?" Amy asked. "Yeah, I just, could I have a snack?" "Certainly." She invited me in and gestured first at the candy jar and then at the chair. "Sit and stay a while." I munched on the M&Ms. Amy faced me, showing me I had missed her attention, even though I wasn't talking. "Amy?" "Yeah?" I crunched M&M shells between my teeth. "My mum's here." I watched Amy's face carefully, but I couldn't tell if the news was a surprise or not. "Is she with you at your grandmother's?" "Yes." "Tell me about her visit. Did you know she was coming?" "No, I don't think Gran did either. She just showed up." "Were you happy to see her?" I looked into the candy jar and picked out just the yellows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. "Amy?" "Yeah?" "Do you think this means I have to leave now?" "Why would you have to leave? Why would you have to leave?" I scooped up a mixed handful of M&Ms and crammed them all into my mouth. When I realised she was waiting for me to answer, I shrugged. "Aubrey, I've talked to your grandmother. She's not letting you go anywhere until she's ready, you're ready, and your mother is ready. Do you feel like you're ready?" I took my hand out of the M&M jar and thought carefully. "I really want to be with her." Amy nodded. "Can I tell you what I noticed about what you've told me?" I shrugged again. "It seems to me you're worried about having to leave, even though you really want to be with her. It's okay to feel both of those things. It doesn't mean that you don't love your mum if you aren't ready to go, and it doesn't mean that you don't love your grandmother if you do want to." I listened. But what if Mum and I both knew that I would never be enough, that I would never make her happy? Would she take me along anyway and not love me? "Aubrey?" Amy asked. Chocolate sweet saliva ran down the inside of my mouth to my throat. "Aubrey?" "I had too much candy," I said, holding the jar out to her. "I'm going to be sick." "I'm sorry." Amy jumped up and took the candy jar, then grabbed the trash can and set it in front of my chair. I leaned over it and waited. Amy patted my back. After a minute, nothing had happened, so I slowly sat back up. When I got home, I headed straight up the stairs. I set my foot solidly on each step and walked to the end of the hall, to the last door. I pushed it open. She was still there, lying on the bed, sleeping. Her hair was up in a ponytail. The hair tie was a thick purple one that belonged to me. Had Gran given it to her? Had she found it herself? I set my backpack down and took off my gloves, hat, winter coat and scarf, piling them on the floor as I stepped out of my boots. I walked to the bed and climbed in next to her, gently waking her up. "Aubrey," she said, welcoming me. She was in bed in the middle of the day, but it wasn't like back home, where she'd look at me and not see me. Now she was smiling and wrapping her arms around me. The window was open a crack, even though it was freezing cold out, so she could breathe in fresh air all the time. "Tell me about your day. Tell me about your day," she said, as I nestled into the down. "Tell me about your day, about your day," she said, as I nestled into the down comforter she held out before me. Sorry, I couldn't get that line right. I apologise, folks. So I told her at the pop quiz we had in language arts about how Marcus had sat with us at lunch, how Bridget had used to love Christian Richards, and didn't seem to anymore all of a sudden. She listened when I was done talking. She stroked my hair, setting her nose against it, breathing in deeply. "What?" I asked. "What are you doing?" "You smell good," she said. "I smell like Graham's soap and shampoo," I said. "Well, it smells nice." We stayed very still for a long time, feeling each other, warm and present. I liked feeling her against. I liked feeling her against me, and I felt safe like that. But that swish of chocolatey saliva kept coming back into my mouth like in Amy's office. Eventually I would have to talk, or I would end up stuck again, maybe stuck forever. I asked an easier question first. "Why didn't you come on Christmas? Why didn't you come on Christmas? You didn't even call. Christmas was it was too hard. But you're here now. That's not too hard. Christmas says there are just some days of the year that are harder than others. Christmas is probably the hardest day of all. Now, well, there are just regular days. We can start over on regular days." It was time for my second question. "Did," I started to ask, "did what, baby?" "No, never mind." "No, Aubrey, it's okay. Go ahead." I took a deep breath and waited. She waited too. "Did you love Savannah more than me?" "Oh no, Aubrey, honey. I'm so sorry, I'm sorry." I felt her body shake with sobs, even though I couldn't hear them. She pressed my hand to her cheek, and I felt that it was wet. "Of course I didn't. Have you thought that all this time?" I didn't move. I didn't say anything. I closed my eyes and felt her sadness mixing with mine. "And how many times I've thought that you should have had your dad instead of me." I found my voice. It was very small, but it said, "I never wished that." Mum squeezed my hand very tightly. "I lost them for you. I lost them." "It wasn't your fault," I said. "It was an accident." She didn't say anything for a long time. I whispered again. because I knew deep down in my heart that I meant it. It wasn't your fault. When Gran came up to tell me it was time for dinner, I asked Mum to come downstairs with us. She agreed. So we sat around the table, three of us, grandmother, mother and daughter, and ate the ham and baked sweet potatoes and baked beans that Gran had made. It was the first time I had sat at a table and eaten with Mum since the last time we ate with Dad and Savannah. I knew she was thinking of it too, even though it felt heavy in my stomach. The food tasted good and sweet and warm. Every afternoon I visited with Mum. I showed her my schoolwork and told her about my friends. I started bringing my homework upstairs and doing it in her bed or in a chair against the wall. I brought her to my room to meet Sammy. After a few days, she was meeting me downstairs when I came home from school. One afternoon, Bridget brought over Monopoly for us all to play. One night we watched movies and ate pizza right out of the box in the living room. The next night, Mum actually cooked dinner. She made spaghetti and meat sauce. I gave her a kiss on the cheek when she served me. For our American friends in the UK, we refer to spaghetti with meat sauce as spaghetti bolognese, or if you're being really informal, spag bol. So Aubrey's mum has made homemade, homemade-ish probably, spag bol for her. We used to eat a lot of spag bol when I was growing up. My mum used to put great vast pans of it because there were 6 of us, so she used to make these great, huge cauldron pans of pasta. She made spaghetti and meat sauce. I gave her a kiss on the cheek when she served me. After she'd been with us 2 weeks, the weather became unusually warm for January. Mum and I put on our jackets and sat on the front porch swing. Martha came out too, and I could tell she was enjoying the breeze and the sunshine. Aubrey, I want to talk to you about something. Is it good news or bad news? I asked. It's just news. Okay, I said. I'm going back to Virginia in a few days. Oh, I said, walking away from her. Graham and I think it isn't time for you to come with me yet. I'm going to keep seeing a doctor, and I want to hold a job for a while. I want to work on getting better. You do? She nodded. She was getting better, I could tell, but one spaghetti dinner wasn't everything. A few days later, it was time to say goodbye. I stood outside the car and hugged Mum for a long, long time. Graham took her turn, and then Mum and I hugged again. I'll see you soon, baby, she said. Yeah, I said, really soon. I cried when she drove away. Graham put her arm round my shoulder. This is the best thing, he said. Soon there was the sound of a door opening, and Bridget crossed her lawn and joined us. Hi, Bridge, I said. Hey, she said. Do you want to come over? I looked up at Graham and wiped my eyes with a tissue. Yeah, is that okay, Graham? It's a good idea. It's a good idea, she said. Go on and play. Bridget gently caught my elbow with hers, and together we walked back to her house. In February, Graham announced that she was going to check on Mum. She was going to go for a whole week. Do I get to come this time? I asked. I'd been talking to Mum on the phone a little. It seemed like she was doing well. She She never told me very much. I did most of the talking. Not yet, honey. Not yet, honey. You'll see with Bridget. I might have been annoyed not to go to see Mum, but a week with Bridget sounded really fun. The good thing about February was that we got a whole week off from school. This was new for me because in Virginia we had our vacation in March. Because Gran picked that week to go, not only did it mean I could have a bunch of sleepovers with Bridget, it meant that we could play together all day too. On Saturday, Gran kissed me goodbye on the porch. Be a good girl, she said. Then she sort of laughed. Well, I know you can take care of yourself, but Bridget's mum's expecting you by lunchtime. Take over your things for sleeping. I told her it was okay if you and Bridget want to hang out here for a little bit during the day, but you two need to sleep at her house. Don't forget about Sammy and Martha. And Martha? I won't, I said. I love you, Graham said, giving me a final squeeze. Love you too, I responded. It felt funny to say that out loud. I liked staying at Bridget's. Her family was fun, and I was comfortable with them. Her dad took part of the week off to spend some time at home too, so it really did feel like a vacation. On the first weekend, Graham called to check in, but it was easy not to think much about her and when I had Bridget and Mabel to play with. On Monday evening, Bridget's dad set up a game of Monopoly that went from 6 to 10 o'clock, which was when Bridget's mum finally put her foot down and said we'd have to finish in the morning. But Tuesday, then we woke up and there had been snow in the night, so we went sledding and made snow people in the yard. Bridget's family had a room in the basement called the rest room, called the mess room even. It could also be called a playroom. There were toys all over it, but even more fun, there were lots of art supplies, and you were allowed to make a mess. That's what Bridget and I were doing on Wednesday afternoon, making crowns with glitter and feathers all over them, and we'd found streamers to hang behind them. We were going to put together costumes too, and put on a play. Do you want to play make-up? Mabel asked. She was crouched on the floor, collecting play make-up in a yellow toy purse. She was having a hard time because she was also holding a pink wand with a glittery star on the end. She was dressed like a fairy, with a gauzy skirt wrapped around her clothes and pastel wings. Not now, Bridget said. But later we will need some makeup for the costumes. You can go practice. Okay, Mabel said. She climbed up the stairs with her purse. Our hats were finished in another hour, and we left them to dry and went upstairs to have a snack. Bridget got 2 pudding cups out the fridge, and we sat on the couch to eat them. Have you seen Mabel? Bridget's mum asked us. Not for a while, Bridget said. Her mum disappeared to go look upstairs. She returned in a few moments, leading Mabel by the hand. In the other hand, she held an open bottle of orange cough syrup. There was very little left in the bottle. How much of this did you drink? Mabel's mother asked her. It sounded like she'd already asked the question, but hadn't got a good answer. Some, Mabel said. That wasn't a very good idea, her mother said. You know to only take medicine when you're sick, and only what Mummy and Daddy give you. Mabel nodded. What's the matter? Bridget asked. Mabel got into the cough syrup, my mother said. Can you find Dad? Bridget looked worried and went to get her father. When he came to the kitchen, he knelt in front of Mabel. How do you feel, Pumpkin? He asked. Fine, Mabel said. That's good, he said. Then Mabel opened her mouth, leaned forward, and let out a sticky strand of orange goo into her dad's hand. Bridget, Aubrey, he said, get coats, shoes, hats, gloves. It's cold outside. Get Mabel and Danny's too. Bridget and I understood his not to be questioned tone. Where are we going? Mabel asked. To the doctor, he said. It was then that Mabel started crying. She wailed as Bridget handed her mother Mabel's little coat and her mother draped it over Mabel's fairy wings. Within a minute, everyone was rushing out the door. Bridget's mum holding Danny and her dad carrying a sobbing Mabel. At the last second, I grabbed the medicine bottle off the counter and raced outside. In the car, Bridget and I squished between the car seats. Mabel was still crying, but as her dad drove down the hill, she opened her mouth again and got sticky orange sick on my jeans. I caught Bridget's eye. In Bridget's face, there was something I'd never seen before. She was scared. I didn't know how this could have happened. Well, it wouldn't have if Bridget had just gone to play makeup with her like she'd asked. She'd have been there. Bridget's dad was driving very fast. Between speeding along the highway and listening to Mabel being sick, I had to cover my own mouth not to be too. When we got to the hospital, we drove up to the door and let out Mabel and her mother. He parked the car in the lot and hurried us inside, taking the cough syrup bottle for me to show the doctors. The smell of the hospital hit me, and without a word, I ran for the nearest restroom. I threw up into the toilet and sat down on the floor. I threw up again and again. I was still clutching the toilet bowl when I began to remember where I was and what was going on. Bridget needs you, I told myself. She needs you. I stood up with shaky legs. I washed my face at the sink. I rinsed my mouth out and spat, and I took off my hat and pulled my hair back with a little water. I took 3 deep breaths, then walked into the waiting room. Bridget was sitting there with Danny, playing with him on her lap. Her parents weren't there. Dad said she's going to be fine. They're just checking her out. Bridget said, she's going to be fine, right? I looked around and took in the other families in the ER. An old woman by herself, crying. A group of older teenagers. Who looked as if they'd been skiing because they had boots, goggles and jackets. A pacing man who kept sitting down and jumping right back up again to walk some more. You okay? Bridget asked me. Oh, yeah, I said, sitting down next to her. Then I remembered this was her emergency. She was the one who might be upset. You? Okay? Bridget shrugged. I had no idea what to say. I wake from a deep, deep sleep. I am not in my room. There's a funny smell and very soft noises made by machines. Um, this is going to be an intense bit, folks, so if you need to skip, do go ahead. I feel heavy with blankets and very, very warm. I'm pretty content to be sleeping. Someone comes into a room. A woman. She looks soft and nice. She speaks to me softly too. It's good to see you awake, Miss Aubrey. My thoughts fluff like cotton balls. I blow at them gently to toss them around like clouds. I don't know this woman. Where are the people I do know? Why am I here? When we get you off, when we get you off this IV, when we get you off this IV, then we can let you go and see your mother. Mother. Okay. What's an IV? My limbs feel heavy, heavy. I wiggle my fingers and my toes. I feel like stretching my arms, but it would be too hard to get them out from under the blanket. What about everyone else? Where's Dad? Can I go and see Dad? The woman doesn't say anything. She takes to fixing the blanket around me, tucking it a little tighter. Savannah? I asked. Somewhere under the sleepiness, a sharp panic thumps in my chest. Sleep now. Don't worry, darling. Don't worry, darling. You just need to go to sleep. The car, the bent metal, the glass sparkles, the rain, the blood, the robe. Where's Savannah? I yell, but the soft, gentle woman is too quick. She hurries to the side of the bed, adjusting some of the knobs on the fluid bags there. I can hear her say, deep breaths, that's right. My eyes grow heavy again, and sleep feels so warm, and nothing is wrong. I heard a small cry. Danny, even. He whimpered from his spot on Bridget's lap. She was staring into space as if she didn't see or hear him. I picked up Danny out of her lap. Shh, I said, bouncing him up and down a little. I left Bridget and took Danny for a walk up and down the hallway outside the waiting room. Eventually he stopped crying and put his tired head down on my shoulder and gave into a nap. He felt so warm and heavy. Will you need to be changed? Maybe someone at the hospital could give me a diaper. I was pretty sure we hadn't packed the baby bag. There were vending machines in the hallway. In the pocket of my jacket, I found $1 bill and some coins left over from school snack money. Hugging Danny to my chest with one arm, I pushed the money into the machines and pressed the buttons for ginger ale and a bag of Cheetos. I collected the food and went back into the waiting room. Here, I held the snack out to Bridget. She came back from the world she'd been staring into. She looked at me and started crying. She stood up and hugged me, getting large, wet tear tracks all over my shoulder. So I had Danny on one side and Bridget on the other, and I held them both. The nurse helps me walk from my bed. I feel a draft on my back and bottom and legs and realise that my gown is open at the back. I can't make myself seem to care about that though, and I let the nurse's arm guide me out of the room. down hallways, into elevators. After a few minutes, she brings me to another patient room. I step in the doorway. There's my mother in a hospital bed, sitting up, waiting for me. When I see her there, all alone, that is when I know. I know. I run to the bed, letting sobs fall out of my mouth and tears run down my face. And she accepts me and presses my face into the blankets with her stomach, with her hand in my hair. Her bawling is even louder than mine, the loudest pain I have ever heard. Hey, Bridge, Aubrey. I felt someone shaking my knee. I opened my eyes to see Bridget's dad leaning in front of us. His eyes tired but happy, relieved. My thoughts jumped with alarm to Danny. I'd lost track of him when I fell asleep, but I was still holding him against me, and he was still asleep, just fine. She's okay, Bridget's dad said. Everything's fine. Bridget started crying again and fell against her dad, who hugged her and chuckled a little at her emotional outburst. They just had to clean her tummy out a little more, but they're getting her ready to go home now. When Bridget kept crying, he held her a little tighter. It's all right, he said. She was never in serious danger. Everything's okay. Soon Rabel was wheeled through in a tiny wheelchair pushed by a nurse. Her mother walked alongside, sharing Bridget's dad's look of relief. Mabel looked pale but sat like a princess, still in her fairy outfit. She seemed proud of her new bracelet because she set that wrist across her lap so you could see it. I bet her stomach still hurt, but she seemed to be enjoying the attention. The rest of us joined in the parade. Bridget's mum paused to kiss Danny's head, and then she turned back to Mabel. I concentrated very hard on holding Danny and making sure I didn't drop him. Mabel was propped on the couch with blankets and pillows and Snow White to watch. Bridget snuggled next to her. Sorry, I don't know where my words are today. Their dad waited on them, getting them juice and adjusting the TV. Danny stood in his playpen, shouting and holding up toys to show us. Bridget's mum sat on Mabel's other side, twisting Mabel's curls round her fingers. I didn't feel like hanging out with them in the living room. I walked to the table in the kitchen and sat down by myself, leaving the lights off. I could still hear the movie and Danny. Eventually, Bridget's mum came in to start dinner. She saw me sitting there. Aubrey, why aren't you in the living room watching the movie with everyone? She sounded truly concerned. This is your family's happy time, you know. You should be together alone. She sat at the table next to me, taking both my hands and turning me to look at her. You are a part of this family. I want you to know that. I heard you were a great help to Bridget this afternoon, and I couldn't ask for a better friend for her than that. I know it must not have been easy for you to go with us. My girls would love for you to go in there and be with them. I nodded. She let go of me, and I went and took my place on the couch. At bedtime, after pyjamas were on and teeth were brushed, Bridget said, Can I sleep with Mabel? What? In her bed? Her dad asked. Yeah, Bridget said. No, sweetie, she needs to rest, okay? Fine, Bridget said. She sounded as if she understood. We went into the girls' room where an extra mattress had been put on the floor for me. Their mum had already tucked Mabel in and was just finishing reading a story. Well then, Aubrey, sleep up here with me tonight, Bridget asked. That sounds okay, my mum said. Just don't stay up giggling. We won't, he promised. Her mum turned out the light and shut the door. Bridget and I climbed into bed. Usually she's the one to hug me or hold my hand first, but I found myself wrapping my arms around her. I'm so scared today, she whispered. I know, I said. She's fine though. I pressed my face against their chest. A hug. You must miss Savannah so much, she whispered. I do, I whispered back, even more softly. I could hear Bridget's heart beating and held on tight. Dear Savannah, I used to only be thinking of you one. I used to only be able to think of you one way since you left. I mean, and that was missing. I hated that you were gone. If I imagined growing up and you were still there, and I had to erase you. Like if I pictured growing up and coming back to Gran's at Christmas, you were still there, just like all our aunts and uncles always come for Christmas. And my kids played with your kids, just like we always played with our cousins. But my kids won't play with your kids because you'll never have kids, because you'll never grow up. I don't know if you know this, but you should. Mum misses you so much. Without you and Dad, she fell apart. I miss you too. These are the things I miss about you. Playing, waking up before Mum and Dad and making breakfast, walking home from the bus stop after school, sitting around and watching movies in our pyjamas with popcorn, finding Valentine's with you in my school bag, even though you weren't in the same class and you had to sneak them in secretly. I even miss how Mum made you brush your hair after showers. Maybe you don't because I brush too hard sometimes, on purpose. That was mean. If you came back, I would never do that again. It's funny, but since I came to live with Gram, I think of you differently. You aren't just missing. I have memories of you that seem so real you can't be gone. So maybe even if I looked for you over the whole world and didn't find you, you have to be somewhere. Are you with Daddy? Are you growing up? Or are you 7 forever? Maybe you are somehow older than me now, wherever you are. To me, you'll be 7 forever. I'm going to remember you just the way you were. That way I'll be able to keep you, sort of, at least a little bit. You will always be my sister, and I'll always miss you. But I hope that you're happy where you are. Love, Aubrey. Chapter 20. Bridget and I were in her mess room on Sunday afternoon when her dad called her upstairs. There's a car outside. I looked up at Bridget and realised what her dad meant. Gran! I shouted, abandoning the dry macaroni palace we were building and scrambling up the stairs. Graham had stood the car in front of Bridget's instead of parking in our driveway. She climbed out and I nearly tackled her in her hug. She laughed. Hey there, duckling. Miss me? It wasn't that I'd missed her. I was just glad to see her now that she was back. She waved to Bridget's mum and dad, who'd come out on the porch. Go get your things. I'm starved. We'll go get something to eat. I ran back inside and Bridget and I tore through the house collecting my belongings. Somehow, I'd managed to leave at least one book and a sock in every room. Mabel watched our hurrying with wide eyes. When I made it back to the porch, Gran was there, thanking Bridget's parents. I'm ready, I said. Thanks so much. Thank you, Aubrey, Bridget's dad said, smoothing my hair the way he always does with Bridget. We had a bit of an emergency this week, and Aubrey knew just what to do. What happened? Gran asked, looking upset, glancing from one face to the other. Not to worry, everything's fine. Aubrey will tell you all about it. He patted my shoulder. You'll come over tomorrow? I think Bridget will miss you. I nodded. Bridget's mum kissed me on the cheek. I told Gran everything in the car on the way to dinner. But quickly, I wanted to hear things too. How's Mum? I asked. Good. I'll tell you more when we get there. Ram said, I'm hungry and I want to pay attention when we talk. She pulled into the parking lot in front of the diner that I'd been to with Uncle David. When we were seated in the booth, I left my menu shut on the table. I wanted to get right to hearing about Mum. So when the waitress came by, I said, I want orange grilled cheese and fries and a pickle and a vanilla milkshake. Okie doke, the waitress said, writing it down. She turned to Gran. And for you? Gran gave me a playful scowl for rushing her, then shut her menu. Tuna and toast. Lettuce? Tomato? Yes. Yes. Yes, and a Sprite to drink. When the waitress left, I said, Tell me now, please. Gran laughed. She seems really good. Really? Well, really. Does she have a job? What's she doing? Mum had never had a job before. Well, not since I was born, anyway. She does. She talked to some of the women at church, and one of them thought it might be a good idea for your mother to work for her. She runs a house for young or expectant mothers who don't have anywhere to go. Why would they not have anywhere to go? Bad luck? Or their families aren't happy about them having a baby? What does she do there? She helps out with the paperwork and some of the cleaning and cooking. Our plates came. I began knocking the slow ketchup out of its brass bottle. Gran finished chewing a bite of her sandwich. She is getting to directly help people, and I think that's really important right now. I twisted a fry in my ketchup puddle. Does she spend time with the babies? I asked. I don't think so. I think she works very behind the scenes right now. We each ate half a sandwich in silence. I slurped at my milkshake. It was tasty, but there was a lot of air in the straw. Did she say anything about my birthday? It was only 2 weeks away, my birthday. Is she coming? I don't think so. She's very excited for you, though. There's a present wrapped in pink paper in the trunk. So she was thinking about it. It would be my first birthday without her. It's like Christmas, I said. What is? My birthday. She said some days are just too hard. Christmas was too hard. My birthday is too hard. So you understand that she's not coming? Sam asked. I took another bite of my sandwich. I loved the butter on the outside. I loved the cheese in the middle that had gone from solid to gooey and back to solid and made my fingers slippery. I loved the dry crust of the bread. Food was either good or it wasn't, usually. What would you like to do, brother? Do? For your birthday? Birthday? Right. Oh, I put my sandwich down to think. I've never had a pizza party. We can definitely have a pizza party. At the house. Or out is a pizza, please. Out. And then back to the house for cake and ice cream. 12 is quite grown up, Aubrey. Not really. After 12 is 13. Is that grown up? I don't know, said. I was a little confused about when you got to be a grown up. Was it the first time you took care of your own mother or lived by yourself or bought your own groceries? I'd already done all of those things. I don't want to be a grown up. No hurry, Ram said. There is certainly no hurry. Hi, Marcus, I said as I joined him at lunch on Wednesday. Have a good vacation. Disney World, he said. Fun? I asked. I bathed on the plane. Essex? I ate a whole bag of cheese puffs. You! Marcus laughed. Where's Bridget? She had some homework to finish. She'll be here in a minute. Listen, I'm having a birthday party, I said. Do you want to come? When is it? March 11th. Is that your real birthday? Yes. And you'll be 12? Yes. I'm already 12. Okay. Do you like science experiment kids? I know some good ones where you can grow coloured crystals and then you can smash them. I guess I could like that stuff, I said. Then that's what I'll get you, he said. Does that mean you're coming? I asked. Marcus smiled. I'm going to leave it there for now because it will be my lunchtime in a minute. But I will get back to this later today because I've got another couple of tags that I want to make sure I do. So I'll try and fit those in. We're on chapter 21. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching, subscribing, commenting. It really makes my day when you do. And Finlay, Coco, and I will see you soon. Can you wave, Coco? Good girl. And what about you, Finlay? Can you wave? Good boy. Cheerio, everybody. Thanks again for watching.